April is known as Distracted Driving Awareness Month, and General Motors is actually calling attention to one of the most dangerous driving habits of our time. That would be distracted driving. We want to bring in Dan Glaser, who's a General Motors driver distraction engineer. Dan, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
First off, what does your job entail, sir?
Well, right. So I am the chief distraction engineer at General Motors. So a lot of my work does involve the center stack. So how to kind of give that enough functionality, but not make it excessive in terms of distraction. Also, how best to identify maybe subpar dangerous states with drivers. So that might be extreme distraction or things like drowsiness and coming up with the best way to protect drivers in those states.
Dan, where does Georgia rank when it comes to how prevalent distracted driving can be?
I wish I knew that, but wherever you're ranked, I would say, you do have laws on the books. So that say do not touch the phone, and there are fines, and I believe there are license points that can go away.
Yes, yes, that is correct. Dan, we
Right.
talk about the risks so often when it comes to distracted driving. What are those risks?
Well, when people think of driver distraction, the mascot is the phone, right?
Mm.
So the phone is very addictive. It is hard not to touch. Lots of interesting stuff happening in there. Now, it's not so much the phone that causes the risk, it's what the phone makes you do. So it's that long off road glance, then coupled with a short on road glance. And when you keep doing that over and over again, and I see people do it all the time, if something kind of chaotic happens or unexpected, then you're just less likely to see that thing and you're more likely to be in a crash. But it's not just the phone. It could be something as innocent sounding as rummaging through the car, the glove compartment, and that's associated with about 50% more risk than texting. So if you're doing something that's taking your eyes off the road for a long period of time, if it's important, just pull off to the side of the road. If it's not, then it's really the best to stop because just one single kind of off-timed glance really can lead to tragedy. And proof of that is we have this month now because a girl on a bike was hit by a distracted driver.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
those
yeah,
tragedies that you just hate to think
yeah.
about, but it only takes a second, fractions of a second even. You
Fractions,
mentioned
yes.
cell phones, Dan, as being one
Hmm.
of the main culprits of distracted driving. What are some other ways that drivers can take their focus off the road?
Well, it could be so many things. It could be something like a kid who didn't receive a toy prior to the drive, and so they're disrupting your drive going down the road. It could be looking off to the side, rubbernecking when you should be focusing on that crash that could be happening right in front of you. Now, what I'll say is that what you want to do is set yourself up so you're less likely to be distracted. Set yourself up so that if you have to do some sort of secondary task, that you know how to do it well prior to even driving. So make sure you know what's on your steering wheel. Oftentimes you can control the radio, you can control the volume. There are other settings you can access. You can start a hands-free call if you Bluetooth pair your phone. Also, if you have to go to the center stack, just, explore a little bit. Maybe find someone to help you go through it if that kind of stuff is intimidating. So that way, if you have to when you're driving, it'll be much faster. So I think it's a lot of it is about preparation and just setting yourself up for success.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Dan, I was just looking this up as far as the distracted driving penalties in Georgia. We passed our hands free law back in 2018, so about
Hmm.
8 years since that has been passed. The first conviction warrants up to a $50 fine and a point on your license. A second conviction within 24 months, you get up to a $100 fine and 2 points on your license. And then a third conviction within 24 months is a
Right.
$150 fine and 3 points on your license. Obviously, the results, the impact can be far worse. So as you referred to, the girl who lost her
Hmm.
life, serious injuries
Yes. Mm.
are a risk as well. We've seen the data, we know what can happen, but why are these habits so hard to break?
Well, I think we're a little bit addicted to convenience, and I think we don't fully appreciate just how bad things can go quickly. So I mean, everyone thinks this, okay, I really need to do this little thing now. It's just a little off-road glance, and so I'll do it. And most of the time it's fine until it's not. And so I I'm not saying that you never take your eyes off the road. If you do, what I suggest is that you really take a long on-road glance so that way you know what's in front of you, what you're getting yourself into, and then make a very short off-road glance and then look back for a long period of time and kind of have that pattern. And also just be aware that sometimes the road is so crazy that maybe you shouldn't even bother. But if it's relatively clear, maybe that's the time to do it. And also just always keep in mind that, something really bad could happen. Driving is serious.
Dan, it brings to mind, habits take time to form, right?
Hmm.
This is
Absolutely.
incumbent, I feel like, on all of us from really when we first learned to drive to now, whether you've been driving for a year or 50 years. Dan, what are some things that companies like GM is doing to help curb this?
Right. Well, we do many things. So, one of the kind of lowest tech things that we do that is very effective and very important is that big screen in the center of your car is actually placed pretty high. So that way, when you use it, more of your eyes are on the forward roadway scene. And this really matters. You're going to be much more likely to catch something happening than if you're, say, looking at your phone down in the cup holder. So that's a huge deal. I also think that, just pairing your phone so that way if you can make a call, receive a call without having to touch your phone and look off the road is, something you definitely want to do. But beyond that, we are moving to more advanced voice assistants. So for a long time, we've had decent voice assistants, but GM is actually moving towards like Gemini. Back in 2022 when ChatGPT came and it seemed like alien technology. Well, that's coming to the car. So you can tell the car, hey, I'm hungry. I want the best tasting Italian, but I don't want to drive more than 10 minutes. And it'll do all that research for you and then give it to you, right? And there's lots of ways now that you can talk to the car. So I'm really hoping we can move towards that being the primary mode of interaction, and that's going to lead to a lot less eyes off road time. So I really encourage people to see what their car can do with voice. I mean, we also have these great driver assistance features. So, like, let's just say backing. If you have your camera and rear park assist and this rear cross traffic, so it's not just what you see in back of you, but it can tell if a car is crossing your path. And automatic braking, we see an 86% reduction in police reported crashes and
Mm.
lots of other reductions in forward crashes too. I know they do go off at times, there are beeps and such that go off when you don't need them, but if you do keep them on, they are highly effective and can really reduce the chance of that crash, which you just do not want to be in.
Yeah, it's always good to be prepared, have that situational awareness, but it always helps, Dan, to have that technology aid in preventing distracted driving. That is Dan
Mhm.
Glaser, who is the Chief Distracted Driving Engineer over at GM. Thanks so much for your time, Dan.
Thanks for having me.